Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Shauna DeLacy Porter, and today we have Ian Vishnevsky, who is the co-founder of Epic Charging and co-founder of EVCS. So thank you so much for joining me today. I'm excited to hear both about Epic Charging and EVCS, kind of, how you got the idea of both, how you started, and all that in between. To get us started, if you could just tell me about your early career and how you got to, what you're doing.
Sure. Hi, Shana. It's great to be here. My name is Ian Vishnevsky, and I've always had, I feel like, an entrepreneurial spirit. Actually, let me ask you, how far do you want me to go? How far back do you want me to go?
Whatever you want to do, however far you want to take us.
Sure. I mean, just maybe a little bit of background. I'm originally from Russia, Moscow. I came to the United States when I was 11.
Okay.
Like I said, always sort of had an entrepreneurial spirit and always feel like I had a side hustle. And at some point I figured that, hey, you got to turn your side hustle into the full hustle to be able to actually make it work. And so, maybe in 2018, I co-founded a company called EVCS. EVCS now is the largest privately owned charge point operator on the West Coast.
Oh, wow.
So pretty excited about that. And, basically started that company from zero.
Mm-hmm.
And, I feel like now we actually, people know us in the industry, and we're doing something exciting. That was, I think I mentioned 2018.
Mm-hmm.
And then, we were able to, as part of that journey, we're able to raise quite a bit of, I was co-founder, COO, and CFO. And as part of that journey, we were able to actually raise about $100 million in debt and equity.
Wow.
And our focus was also really leveraging, because it's an infrastructure business, it's a very capital intensive business, was really leveraging rebates and grants to offset the cost of putting chargers in the ground.
Okay.
And we were able to secure over $100 million in various grants and rebates.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. And so we had a latest round that raised some capital in December, and it really presented me with an opportunity to allow us to kind of hire a professional management team to continue grow and scale the company, and allowed me to sort of take my next step, which is co-founding Epic Charging. And what's really great about Epic Charging is that it's basically an operating system for EV chargers. So each charger is like a mini computer or a regular computer. It needs an operating system to operate, and that is the pain point that Epic Charging is solving, is being able to provide a really industry-leading software platform that allows these chargers to function and function well. And so it's a SaaS B2B platform, and and I'm actually really excited to see what we can do with it.
Yeah, that's super exciting. And like I said, congratulations on raising the money, because that's awesome. I'm sure that was a great feeling. And, it's, amazing that you always kind of knew you were an entrepreneur, and then you were able to take that and make it a reality. So a little bit more about your company. I know we kind of just talked about it, but what does your company do, and what are the main product lines of your company?
Yeah, so maybe we can focus on Epic Charging a little bit more. So yeah, so like I said, Epic Charging is really sort of has sort of two components. What we call a backend, which is like I said, the operating system that runs and operates the EV chargers, and then
Mm-hmm.
the front end, which is basically an app that allows like an EV driver, for example, to find EV charging stations, allows you to activate those charging stations, and yeah, we're working on some really cool, I would say, functionality where, for example, you could have a wallet. You can register with a utility company and get rewards
Oh,
to your wallet,
that would
and
be
then
nice.
use those dollars in your wallet to go and charge on different EV charging networks.
Oh, very cool.
So there's some exciting and innovative stuff that we're doing that I think would be super exciting, and also will reduce the cost of charging your electric vehicle.
Right, which would be nice, right? So,
Mhm.
I know there had been some challenges in the beginning. So kind of what were those significant challenges in the initial stage of your business, and how did you overcome them?
Yeah, so again, maybe I could go back to the beginning and talk a little bit about EVCS, and we can sort of parlay some of that into Epic Charging because it's a little bit more of an earlier stage company than EVCS at this point.
Mhm.
But yeah, with EVCS, it was interesting because it's like, how do you start an infrastructure company without access to capital? And it
Right,
wasn't sort
that's
of
a
like
huge thing.
very clear, yeah, that's what we were doing. It was just like, oh, okay, let's figure out how we need more charging stations. Let's figure out how we can use the funding that's out there to do exactly that very thing, and get going. Just figuring out like how do you start the business from scratch? How do you build? How do you sort of how do you apply for rebates? How do you get
Mhm.
them? How do you hire people? How do you build systems and processes to make sure you can you know things sort of work well, to things work the way you intend them to work. I mean, definitely I say getting capital is definitely a huge challenge.
Mhm.
Um, it takes a long time. You have to sort of present the case to people, to investors, that they
Mhm.
should give you money, that you're going to be a good steward of that money, that you're going to give that money back, that you're going to make give them a return. So figuring all that out was sort of challenging, but I think just maybe jumping ahead is just having raised capital from institutional investors. It is a really nice feeling because it's sort of like a validation. It's like, okay, we build an investable business. Yeah, but I would say early days, it's just how do you stay around, right? I
Yeah,
kind
yeah.
of use this analogy between Microsoft and Lotus Notes. I'm not sure if I mean I know most people have heard of Microsoft, but maybe not a lot of people have heard of Lotus Notes. But Lotus Notes was actually a product that was some thought even better than Microsoft.
Mhm.
But Microsoft is still around and Lotus Notes is not. And
Mhm.
so the idea is that, yeah, you have to have a compelling product, but you also have to figure out how do you stay around, how do you have a seat at the table. And that was sort of the always kind of like the mindset. How do we sort of make sure we have a seat at the table? Because it is pretty clear that we are going to be transitioning to the electric vehicle future, and that's
Mhm.
going to be a thing. But sometimes it takes a little time to get there, and there is a lot of sort of ups and downs along the way. How do you sort of make sure that economics make sense, right?
Yeah.
I think we're still going through sort of that process, figuring all that out. Um, if I look, if I look ahead, 5, 10, 15 years, like there's little doubt, or I should say, for me, it's certainly like I know there's going to be electric cars and there's going to be charging stations, right? And but when you kind of go day to day, there's a lot of there's a lot of sort of noise, like, okay, like, the adoption is slowing down, or
Mhm.
the interest rate is high, or this company went out of business, and so on and so forth. And so you kind of have to figure out how do you kind of hang in there and get to a point where it's just part of our everyday lives, and we figure out how to make the economics works, and it's just there, and you just yeah. So that's really the goal, is to kind of, how do you sort of make the right decisions, that you have a seat at the table when uh, long term.
Yes, yes, it makes 100% sense.
Mhm.
There's a lot of key components floating around that go into what you do every day. So, on a happier note, what is the most satisfying moment in your career, or your business so far?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of sort of parallels. I mean, I think that there's many things. I mean, one, I think, is just being able to like hire people, and hire great people, and
Mm,
build your business kind of as a family, with people that have similar, mindsets, ambitions, that kind of thing. So I think that's really satisfying when you're able to, yeah, when you're able to build a company with great people that you feel like is doing something, that's needed, and that's
mm,
helpful to society. um, Ability to like, just, yeah, build something from the ground up that didn't exist before, and sort of be that sort of, you know be one of the architects that can, build something that hopefully stays around, and
right.
that you can look back and say, hey, I was part of that. I helped build this company or that company. And I also love learning. I think you learn a lot through the process, and I just try to, how do you learn? How do you you know do things better? How do you make less mistakes? you know
Right, right. We're always making mistakes, but it's nice to learn from them.
Yeah, and so like, all those things are very satisfying, and very rewarding.
Yes, it sounds like it, and having something that you create and watch it flourish and grow, and you're like, I did that. It's also, you're so proud of, yourself and the company. So that is wonderful. And you mentioned kind of like the people you work with. So my next question for you is, what are the key values that your company represents, and how do you ensure they're upheld in your company?
Yeah, well, I think company culture is very, very important. So yeah, so just like, I think, I mean, it's a good question you ask. What are the key values? I mean, I think um, the key values is that, how do you build how do you do things that have um, the highest probability of success, or successful outcome.
Hmm.
So it's kind of like the common stuff. How do you I don't know, do things sort of the right way? How do you yeah, how do you sort of hire people that kind of have the same ambitions and goals and mindset, and are going to sort of support you along the way.
Hmm.
How do you sort of, you know, yeah, how do you sort of make sure you stay on the right path? You know?
Right, which is important.
Yeah. So I think those are kind of like, a lot of it is common sense in a way, but it is sometimes you get put in situations
Mhm.
where that is tested quite a bit, and so you gotta sort of find a way to not deviate from what's right.
Exactly, yeah, because that is key. It's very important. So how would you define success for yourself and then success within your business or
Mm,
your company, you know?
sure. That's a good question. I mean, I maybe I'll start start from the how do you define success for the business? I mean, um, we are so I think there's multiple things on that front, and I think maybe um, so I mean, one is the product, right? Like with the charging stations, how do you sort of build a network that's reliable, that you know um, when people get there, they know this charging stations work and they can sort of
Mhm,
charge. And how do you provide like a really great customer service and support, that kind of thing. On the software side, the Epic charging is how do you build a compelling product that is easy to use and has like the features and the capabilities that you need, right?
mhm,
How do you then provide really excellent support for the users of that product? Um, and I think the sort of maybe the ultimate test is how do you sort of balance that with actually making money, right? Becoming
yeah,
profitable.
yeah, that is a huge thing.
Yeah, and if you are and if you have investors, how do you actually make sure that they get return on putting their money to work with you?
Mhm,
So I think that's key. And I guess personal success really tied to all those things, like because you're sort of you're you are the person behind the scenes trying to make that happen, right?
right,
And so I think if you're able to make a compelling product, um, get people to buy your product or use your product, and then you can do it in a way where you can generate positive EBITDA or positive cash flow,
mhm,
and maybe there is sort of like ultimate, like where you get acquired, or maybe you become a public company and the people that put money with you can realize a return. I mean, I think that's an ultimate success, and that the company kind of stays around, even maybe when you're no longer part of that company,
mhm,
because at some point you will turn that over to somebody else.
mhm,
So I view that as kind of you know um, being part of that personal success. And I guess one more thing is that how do you create maybe a company where people enjoy that, where people enjoy working? That
yes,
I think that's important. I think yeah, I think it would make me very happy if there is a company where people enjoy coming to work every day and what they're doing, and how management runs things. So yeah.
mhm. Yes, I love that all. Um, my next question is kind of geared towards, like a failure that later that became a success or a valuable lesson for you. Because, I'm sure in the beginning there was things that were happening that, maybe didn't go necessarily the way you wanted them to. And kind of what do they teach you? Was there a valuable lesson or a success that came from that failure?
Mhm. Yeah, that's a good question. There's like so many. I mean, I think maybe one thing that I can share is like being able to hire right. I mean, sometimes hiring people, if you hire the right people, it could sort of be the difference between success and failure. And sometimes hiring the wrong people could be the
Right.
difference
Yes.
success and failure. Some of these things. I think I'm still seeing how they are going to play out. But I would
Mm-hmm.
certainly say, like, definitely sometimes I look back and it's like should I have hired this person or not? And what would
Mm-hmm.
have things be different? How were things would things be different if I didn't hire them? But
Right.
at the same time, you kind of sometimes certain things happen that you never expect, and you think maybe, hey, this is, maybe I didn't want this to happen, but ultimately it leads to other opportunities, for
Mhm.
example, and then ultimately you're like, wow, like maybe it's a good thing that things went the way they are, because I would never have had a chance to actually accomplish certain things if that didn't happen. Um, so yeah, I would say, um, you know, having the right people on the team is super critical.
Mhm.
And so you always learn how to it's very hard to, like get it right all the time.
Yes, yeah, I
uh,
agree. No one
yeah,
gets it right all the time, that's for sure.
yeah. And and there's just like there's a lot of, I think, like, not like, I guess, mini failures, or just learnings, like, oh, if I had to do this over again, I'd do this differently, like
Mhm.
again, how you raise money and so on and so forth. So yeah.
Yeah, well, thank you for sharing that. My next question for you is kind of how do you approach risk in your business? I'm sure that there's a lot of risk, like of asking investors and hiring the correct people and whatnot. How do you approach that? And what is your mindset going into it, knowing that, you might have to take a risk?
Yeah, risk is a big thing for sure. uh yeah. Yeah, I think you sort of try to, um, like I said, do things the right way, and ensure the best possible outcome. The thing is that you don't always know what the risk is, how big it is, or
Mhm.
what that risk is. I mean, like, I don't know what the statistics is, but like, there's something like, 9 out of 10 businesses fail, and
Mhm.
90% of the businesses don't last like more than 5 years or whatnot. And so,
Yeah, all those scary stats.
yeah. And so you kind of like, I guess one thing is, maybe it's, if you really look at those stats, you probably wouldn't start a new business, right? So I
Yeah.
think you always have to, you have to take risks. But but then I think you just kind of try to, if you do take risks, try to take the steps that in your mind ensure the best possibility of success. So like, so you try to use, like it's not always fun to work with with lawyers, but like,
Mhm.
you gotta, like, make sure you get the right advice from the right people, and
Mhm.
ultimately you're kind of gotta be the decision maker in terms of what you're going to do and what not going to do, but try to get as much information as possible to figure out, okay, this is what I have to work with, and how do you sort of strategically position yourself to get through that minefield. So
Yeah.
I would just say, yeah, just get the right advice, and try to execute, and hustle, and as much as you can to make sure you get the outcome you want.
Perfect. I love it. I love it. So, if we can go and maybe talk more about your leadership style, maybe describe what that looks like and kind of how you cultivate your team culture.
Yeah, that's a really good question. There is a lot of different leadership styles. The what I like is to give people um, the ability to, um, to sort of prove themselves, right? Or
Hmm.
or I want to give sometimes people more responsibility than maybe um, typical, right? And say, hey, I brought you on board. The reason we work together because I think you have certain potential, you have certain skills that make you special. And I was like, hey, so like maybe an example. So sometimes a lot of people work. Sometimes there's like a lot of emphasis that goes like when you hire people on like your resume, your background,
Hmm.
like that. And then those things are important, but I always like sometimes would like to not focus too much of that, but really kind of focus on the person,
Hmm.
understand what drives that person. What are they passionate about, like me? So because people have sometimes like goals and aspirations, and sometimes people appreciate when they're given a chance, they're given an opportunity to do something where it would be atypical, and to get a position or to have the opportunity to do things, you know, uh, like if they were like in a typical way.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
so I try to like recognize that and give people the ability to realize their dreams and realize their ambitions. And so then it's really up to them if they want to take advantage of that opportunity and run with it or not. And so people that um, you know do take advantage of that, you try to kind of encourage them and push them and give them the chance to kind of run with it.
Hmm.
And a lot of times you see amazing results. And then if you see that people are just like struggling, maybe there is maybe you just need to make a change. But I'm kind of one of those people that would like to like like give people the opportunity to realize their ambitions and dreams.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's awesome. And, it's really nice because you also are showing that you trust the people that you work with, which is
yeah,
always like a rewarding feeling to be like, oh, I'm actually being trusted. And then it makes you like, oh, okay, if this person's trusting me, then I really can trust myself and let's see what I actually can put out there. And then
yeah.
the work is amazing.
Yeah, you got to like build a relationship, right? And trust
Hmm.
and that kind of thing. That takes sometimes a little time. But I think if you are able to accomplish that, I think you get a lot out of out of the
Yes,
people that you work with,
yes,
versus like micromanaging or just like, hey,
right,
telling people, hey, I know everything and this is how
right.
you do things. Yeah, I don't know everything. That's why I need people to help me figure things out.
Yeah, right. I mean, isn't there a saying like you learn something new every day? So
Oh yeah,
that's what
yeah,
I
yeah,
always, and you do, you really do. So thank you for answering that part of the question. So I wanted to go back to kind of about your business and how
yeah.
it evolves since you first started and where you see it in the future, like what your hopes and dreams and aspirations are for it.
Sure. Um, you know, um, yeah, that's great. Let me maybe focus on Epic Charging. I mean, for Epic Charging, I think what I really like about this business, it's software, right? It's a SaaS B2B, and I think there's also opportunities for B2C applications. And so I do see that as a global business because the software will work the same way it works in US, that it will
Hmm.
work in Taiwan or
Right.
Europe or whatever country.
All over.
Yeah, yeah. So I think it would be awesome to see like this business to be I don't know, like in 100 different countries or something like that, and get to a unicorn status and
Hmm.
maybe even go public. I think that would be like yeah, I think that's definitely possible, and I mean that would be sort of, I think, ultimate. I've never taken company public, and I think being able to do something like that would be quite incredible.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's kind of where I see Epic Charging going with EVCS. I mean, I'd love that business just to kind of, that business is about density. So,
Mm.
and so I would like to see that business. Right now it's in California, in on the West Coast, and that sort of accounts almost for 50% of the EV drivers out there.
Hmm.
So that business, I would really love for it to be focused on, hey, let's continue to focus on building a reliable network and building density, so that, like, you're kind of never more than 5 minutes away from an EVCS charging station, kind of like when you're never more than 5 minutes away from Starbucks.
Right, right.
Like
Wouldn't that be nice?
yeah, build like a recognizable and a reliable brand that people can depend on. And ultimately, I think there's a lot of parallels between the infrastructure, right, and
Mhm.
charging station, and sort of the software that runs those charging stations. And so I think potentially there is opportunity for some synergies between these two businesses to maybe work together.
Yeah, that would be, super awesome, and would be great to see it worldwide. I know that would be so, like, just heartwarming and, very, very proud moment. So my next question for you is there a book or a mentor or maybe even an event that significantly influenced your journey?
Yeah, sure thing. So I started my career in the entertainment industry, actually.
Okay.
And then I went to business school, and a lot of, sometimes business school serves as a platform to, kind of change direction or industries, or
Mhm.
shift gears kind of thing.
Yes.
Um, and I mean, ultimately, I think what happened is when I was in business school, I kind of started hearing about this company, Tesla, Elon Musk, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
then I actually bought my first car, my first Tesla, which was a Tesla Model 3 in 2018. And for me, it was like a little bit kind of like an iPhone moment. It was just like, oh my God, this is so different. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. So for me, it was like an immediate click. And it was like, yeah, this is going to be the future. I mean, this is just so much better than a
Mhm.
nice car. And yeah, so in a way, like I know Elon is a bit of a controversial figure, but I, in a way, feel like if you look at what, if you kind of take away the noise and you look at what he has been able to accomplish, it's quite incredible. I mean, it's really difficult to run like one company and make one company
Right.
successful.
Right.
And the guy has like, space company, um, a technology, AI,
Mhm.
energy company, and a bunch of other companies like Neuralink
Mhm.
and whatever, and all seem to be doing great. But yeah, definitely, I feel like he really. I mean, I love the mindset and how he thinks about the world, and
Mhm.
that kind of thing. So I think, I really look at, I really sort of do pay attention to what he's doing, and how he's viewing things. And I,
Mhm.
do sort of, that does influence me and how I think about things and how I approach the world as well.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that. Because, like you said, if you kind of take away the person, all his accomplishments are kind. You're like, wow, like what the heck? Like, what does this guy
Yeah,
do?
yeah,
And I want the
yeah,
secret.
yeah. Maybe he has a certain style, but I
Yeah.
think sort of the ideas that he has are the right ideas. And
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, he's got successful companies, so I agree with you on that. My next question for you are: what are the most critical skills you believe an entrepreneur needs to have to succeed?
Hmm. That is a good question. I think that I think that for me, it's always like, how do you make a connection with people, right?
Mm. Mhm.
Because you have to interact with people, with different people, and a lot of times on the business end, it's about making agreements that hopefully is a win-win and help
Mhm.
both companies get further ahead. I think when the personal sort of there's a personal connection, um, that whole sort of ecosystem of being able to move forward is easier.
Mm.
Um,
Mhm.
you're not always going to like people that you work with, of course.
Very true.
But it's definitely, but I think you get more out of it when you kind of can align, hey, this is going to help my business, and by the way, like I enjoy working with this person as well. And I
Mhm.
think it means you can do more things, you can do bigger things, you can do things on a bigger scale.
Mhm.
You can do things across a long period of time, and I think when you can, and that's kind of what I try to, the way I try to work is that I enjoy working with people that I like. I mean, I will work with anybody, but I find when you have like that sort of reciprocation of sometimes you have to like take a leap of faith and help somebody out, and somebody needs to help you out a bit. But then if you see that person really kind of like appreciate what somebody's done for you or you've done for them, and
Mhm.
give back, and you can kind of build that little by little. So I do enjoy, I think that is a important skill, like empowering people, leading by example, not just like telling people
Absolutely.
what to do, but trying to like, hey, I'm gonna do it, and uh,
Mhm.
you know I'm gonna take the first step.
Yeah.
I think that's important, and just to try to yeah, like I said, like um keep your word, right?
Yes,
Like
that
you
is a
make a
big,
promise,
that's very
keep
big.
your word. Like I think it's like simple things, but you just gotta like really stay consistent, and follow through on those kind of things, and I think you'll do okay.
Yes, I agree with you on that one. And to wrap it up, my last question for you is, what advice would you give to someone wanting to start their own company? Or
Mhm.
maybe, what advice you wish you got when you were about to start your own company?
Yeah, sometimes like somebody asked you, like, if you knew what you know now, would you do it again?
Yeah,
And you're
yeah,
like, no, no, no. I honestly look. I think sometimes not knowing things almost is a good thing, because it actually gives you a chance to try things.
right. It kind of
So
pushes you to try a
yeah,
little harder
yeah.
sometimes
So,
too.
I mean, my advice, look, if there's something that you really like, if you're passionate about something you really believe in, go for it. Just like I said, surround yourself with good people. People that can mentor you, help you. I say build a lot. Build relationships. Um, Sometimes don't let people down.
Right,
And I think if you do all those things, you'll find that you'll probably you know make it,
mhm.
and succeed in what you're trying to accomplish. And sometimes it takes a couple tries. So don't
Right,
don't
right.
don't give
That
up.
is
It's
me
very
too.
cliche. It's very cliche. It's kind of, how do you like really, but it is true. It is true. It is true. It's just yeah, just go for it.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for that great advice. And thank you so much for talking with me today. It was great getting to know more about you and about both your companies, and kind of just all about your journey and, where you started, where you're at, and where you want to go. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And we'll catch you next time.
Thank you, Shanna. I had a great time. I really
You
appreciate
too.
everything. All right, take care. Bye
Yes,
bye.
you as well.